Breaking news this afternoon, the federal NDP have informed the Prime Minister that they will be ending the federal supply and confidence agreement.
Let's take a look. So, as reported by Brian Lilly, an internal letter was sent to the NDP caucus today. It reads, "Today, Jagmeet will announce that we are leaving the confidence and supply agreement with the Liberals signed in 2022. No fourth party has ever set the national agenda as we have. Millions of Canadians have benefited as a consequence. There can be no doubt that we have effectively used our power to deliver for Canadians, and that we have done so with unprecedented results." You can say that again. "And yet, like so many Canadians, we have been left frustrated and disappointed by Justin Trudeau's broken promises. His unwillingness to stand up to corporate greed has led to more people falling behind, while CEOs are making record profits. Meanwhile, we know that Pierre Poilievre's proposed cuts would make things even worse, despite the fact that the only thing that Pierre has committed to cutting is taxes. Our country is at a crossroads. The Liberals are too weak, too selfish, and too beholden to corporate interests to fight Pierre Poilievre's agenda. The next election will give Canadians a choice. They will choose between Pierre Poilievre's callous cuts and a hopeful new Democrat Party vision. We have shown that when we stand united, we can win. For that reason, Jagmeet has decided that later today, he will be telling Canadians that we are exiting the confidence and supply agreement. When Parliament resumes in the fall, we will do what New Democrats always do. We will put Canadians first. We will approach every vote on its own merit. We will push for measures that help Canadians. We will not shy away from vigorously holding this government to account, and we will fight Pierre Poilievre's cuts. If this means triggering an election, we will be ready. This information needs to remain confidential until 1 p.m. No one should talk to journalists or do interviews today and tomorrow, and every media request should be forwarded to the media team. In addition to the announcement video that will be released today at 1 p.m., Jagmeet will do a speech and take media questions Thursday at 11:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Following this announcement, we will need your help to put forward our case for ending the deal, as well as putting forward our positive and hopeful vision.
This is good news. This is huge. And this is, I think, good news, because the NDP, it sounds like anyways, are going to start acting like an opposition party again. When the government's term is almost over, but I guess it's better late than never. This is the interesting thing about this whole scenario is this is too late. It is too late to do this, but it's also kind of too early to do this. They've put themselves in such a terrible position. It makes me wonder if they're doing this purposefully for the by-elections, because in the Elmwood-Transcona by-election, the Conservatives were hot on their heels in the most recent polling, and in the other by-election in Quebec, they are just trailing the Liberals by a little bit. So if they got a little bit of a push, maybe they could beat the Liberals and gain another seat.
Well, here's the other thing. Let's talk strategically, everybody. Let's talk chess. So the issue right now is that the NDP have pinned themselves in a corner even more so by doing this. What do I mean by that? Well, so this ending of the supply and confidence agreement, the justification in there was actually pretty poor. Notice they don't even talk about the CP rail strike. They don't even talk about the CN rail strike.
Well, that information that they put out to their caucus, it seems like they were almost asking the caucus for support, reasons as to why this was ending.
Right. So on those notes, you look at what this means. So does this mean that they're going to be going to an election this fall?
Possibly, but I wouldn't put my money on it.
Unlikely.
Yeah.
Unlikely.
But possible, right?
So the question you have to ask is, why are they doing this? Well, look at the polls. They are so far down in the polls. They're probably as low as they've been since, before the last election. So they've seen the trend. They've seen that they actually have to do something different. And all they hear, no doubt, everywhere they go during the barbecue circuit was, all you guys do is prop up the Liberal government. So what have they decided to do? Well, they're going to decide to exit that perception. But if I'm the Conservatives, the first thing that I'm going to be doing is
finding some way, shape, or form to introduce a confidence vote in the House. And then what that's going to do is it's going to force the NDP to choose. And they're not ready at this point because they need their polling numbers to be higher. So the problem is if the NDP vote confidence for the government, all they're going to hear from all of the parties and all of their political opponents is, see, it doesn't make a lick of a difference. You're still holding up the government. And if they do go non-confidence and then an election is triggered, they're so far down in the polls.
It's too early.
It's too early.
Yeah.
So what does that mean then? Well, if they keep the government in power until their polls rise, which is probably going to need to take a few polling cycles, and that might take you into next year. Well, what happens next year?
Jagmeet gets his pension.
Right. And then all you're going to hear around the campaign trail is the only reason that they're going to the election now is because Jagmeet now has his pension. So they are screwed.
They are royally boned.
So you either go now and you have really no shot at actually winning any meaningful seats. They'll probably lose seats in the next election, or you go later and you might even lose even more. But the interesting thing, in along with this story breaking, is what happened immediately after it broke. So what happened is the CBC learned of this, and they learned of this from Brian Lilley's reporting. And I don't think I've heard of a more jealous and spiteful CBC than I did after that. Take a look.
But this really kind of changes the conversation that's being had on Parliament Hill already, even though this news has only been out for about an hour. So it'll be very interesting to hear what the Prime Minister has to say when he starts talking.
That is the understatement of the day, Kate McKenna. That'll be very interesting to hear what the Prime Minister has to say. His office found out 30 minutes ago, 13 minutes to 1 o'clock Eastern Time, 12:47 they found out. This was minutes after Brian Lilley of Sun Media tweeted out the internal NDP letter announcing it. So the NDP Liberal Supply and Confidence Agreement revealed to the world by a conservative-leaning columnist.
Wow.
And, okay, so does that mean that the far left-leaning, spiteful columnist from the CBC is the one who's jealous about it?
It's just such a comment to make. But
yeah, who cares who reported it?
Well, I think it's important to give credit where credit is due, and Brian Lilley of the Toronto Sun did report it. I believe it was on his personal Twitter, if I'm not mistaken. But they didn't need the additional comments in there.
No, it just makes CBC look petty and small, and, well, it just shows that, yeah, there is an extreme bias there. Extreme bias. So no wonder that you guys are starting to get probably pretty nervous right now, because this is one step closer to an election and one step closer to a bunch of CBC reporters and media folks not having a job.